Today we're going to start with Illustrator and a letter-sized document, and we're going to set the document up before we get really into drawing the thing we're going to draw. So there's my letter-sized document. I'm going to click Create right down here at the bottom, and I'm going to set this document up correctly. In order to do this one, we're going to take a look at the rulers and some grids and a couple of different things so that we can see it very structured. So if you go to View, we're going to pull down the rulers, show those, and you'll see them on the sides. And then if you go to, we're going to set up our grid correctly, go to Edit and Preferences. You're going to set up this grid just the right way. So Guides and Grid. There's Guides and Grid. And they want us to set it up in this lesson that I've got here, set it up so that there's a grid line every 36 pixels with subdivisions of 1. And you'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. I'll actually zoom in and show you what that means. But make sure this says 36, make sure this says 1, and click OK. When you go to View, you're going to do two things to this grid. You're going to show it, and you're going to view Snap to Grid. So things are going to automatically sort of glue themselves to that grid line. Can't see it down there at the bottom. I'm sorry. It's right there, Snap to Grid. So when I said 36 and 1, you see how, let me just pull a ruler out here. Every 36 pixels, right there, 0 to 36. That's exactly where the grid goes. So that is how you've got it set up, and that's going to make yours look just like mine. So what we're going to start with is the ellipse tool, and the ellipse tool is hiding under the rectangle tool. And with that, you're just going to click down and let go. You're not actually going to draw out the circle or drag out the circle because you're going to set it to exact, precise measurements. So if you just click and let go, it says how big do you want this circle. Mine's already set up for the right size because I tried this before I made this film. So you have to type in 288 by 288. You have to type it into both boxes. And when you click OK, you will get your circle. I'm going to zoom in a little so you can see what I'm talking about here. The next thing we're going to do is in the pen tool flyout. So if you look underneath the pen tool, there's something called the anchor point tool. So the pen tool is right here, click and hold. And you'll see several other options underneath it. The anchor point tool is the bottom one, just looks like a V shape. If you click the anchor point tool, you're going to set this up because you're trying to turn this into a heart shape. And the easiest way to change this curve right here into a straight corner is to use this tool and just click on this anchor point. I'm going to click right here on this anchor point. You see how it changes? That's before, that's after. Easy enough, right? Starting to look like the bottom of a heart shape. The next thing I want to do is use this white arrow, the direct selection tool, to move some of my handles. I've got handles all over the place here. I've got some on the top, and I've got some on the sides. I'm going to start with this top handle. And because I did a snap to grid, and because I set it up just the right way, I know that I can grab this anchor point and I can pull it down 2 spaces. 1, 2. And it's really precise, and it really snaps to the place I want it to snap to, and that way it looks oddly like kind of a squished guitar pick, if I'm being honest. And then I'm going to turn these pieces into a heart shape. So with my finger on the Alt key, ALT, right next to your space bar, I'm going to grab this handle right here. It's almost hard to see, but you can see it. And you're going to pull that handle up a little bit because you're trying to make this heart shape. The grid pattern here, the grid lines, make it easier to see both sides. So make it easier to see that both sides are exactly the same. I'm having a tough time picking up this handle. If both sides are the same, those handles went to the exact same spot. It's like a mirror image. So my heart's looking pretty good. Now I'm going to work with these handles on the sides. I'm going to pull this one in just a little. See, I'm struggling. So let me pull this one in just a little bit, and then I'll make this one match it. Again, just for the symmetry of it, this grid is really helpful. So there is my heart shape. If I want to pick it up and move it, I sure can, but that is the black arrow, the selection tool. Put it wherever you want it. I just wanted to get mine more centered on the page because I'm about to make its twin. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the fill, change the stroke, give it a different color, and then make a copy of it. So getting rid of the fill. That's right down here, or it could be right up here in the properties. Either way, you're going to click the white box and click that red stripe, and that gets rid of the fill. And you can see that before I did that, it was white on the inside. And after I did that, you could see the grid pattern. That means there's nothing filling that up. Next, you want to choose a stroke color. You can do that once again here, or you can do it over here, wherever the heck you want to. I don't care. It's a heart shape. Let's make it red, a little Valentine-ish. And finally, you're going to change the stroke weight. So where it says 1 point, we want this at 15. The lesson called for 15, and there's 14 and 16 in this list. So if you wanted to be precise, you could choose one of those two and then just take it up one. Easy enough. Or, you could just leave it at 14 and I probably won't notice. Next, we want to do this one thing that we're going to do to make it kind of have a glowing effect, and that is going to be to outline the stroke. So right now, this is one line, and we're going to turn the line actually that we see into the fill with lines on the inside and outside of it. It's a little confusing, but you'll see in a second. We're going to go to Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. So Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. And when I click that, you'll see more anchor points appear. And they'll be on the outside and they'll be on the inside of the line. My new anchor points, see, all over the place. You don't have to click them. I'm just going to show them to you. There's all sorts of brand spanking new anchor points. Very exciting. So now that I've outlined the stroke, I'm going to make a copy of this thing. That's going to be switching to my selection tool, which is the darker of those two arrows. And I can click on it. And the easiest way in the world to do that actually is once again with the Alt key, ALT, right there on the keyboard. You will click the Alt key and click down on the shape and drag. And lo and behold, you have a second copy of that shape. You'll notice your stroke and fill colors flipped when you outlined it. You see that the fill is now my pink color and the stroke is now transparent, and that is fine. What I want to do is change the fill color of the second one so that it has a neat looking effect when I do this glowy kind of thing that I'm going to do. So choose a color. You know what? I'm going to make it blue this time. Why the heck not? Choose a color and we're good to go. Next, I'm going to pull out something you've not seen before. It's the Pathfinder window. That is going to be under Window and Pathfinder. It's kind of down a bit right here at the bottom, Pathfinder. Where did it go? Oh, it appeared off screen, sorry. Pathfinder showed up right here. When I've got a shape like this, what it'll do is give me all these options to split it all into separate little pieces or to blend it all together into one big chunk. What I'm trying to do is split these apart, because what I want to have happen is I want to change this piece right here, and I want to turn it to this pink color. So I need to separate this piece right here from the rest of the blue heart. What I want to do to make that happen is select everything on my screen here, everything on the artboard. A couple ways to do it. I can do select all right up here. I can hit Control A on my keyboard, or I can take my selection tool and just draw around everything. Either way it goes, it's just fine. And I am going to click right up here. I'm sorry, right here on the button that says Divide. It's on the second row. It's on the far left. And when you hover your mouse over it, it sure enough says Divide. And what it did was it divided all these pieces into different little segmented parts. You see how there's little lines there. You can see where they overlap. The next thing we do after we've divided it is we ungroup it, because right now it's still all grouped together. If you look in your layers, it's a group, right? You're going to go to Object and Ungroup. You see what it did in your Layers panel? It ungrouped them. Now you've got layers that are just weirdly one little chunk here. You see how it's all separate now in your Layers panel. Finally, I need to turn this little bitty piece, this little teeny tiny piece, into a pink color. So what I'm going to do is take my selection tool, my black arrow. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to take this little eyedropper tool. The eyedropper tool is fantastic for this. I'm going to click the eyedropper tool on that color, and lo and behold, now it looks like they are overlapping. With this overlapping look that I've got accomplished here, I still have everything kind of split apart into different paths, and I'm going to go ahead and put those pink pieces together as one group and put those blue pieces together as one group. And I honestly don't know what this is. I've got some extra stuff that I maybe just need to get rid of or leave alone. We'll come back to that later, but I've got all these pink pieces. this pink piece and this one that should probably be a group together. So I'm going to take my black arrow, the selection tool. I'm going to click the first one, and then I'm going to stick my finger on the shift key and click the next one and click the third one. When I say object group, puts them all together. You see how they're all together now. Do the same thing with the blue pieces. 1, shift, 2, and continue with the shift key, 3, all together. Object and group, and they're all pieces together. And if you have extra stuff like this, you might as well just throw it out. I don't know what the heck it is. I just need this group and this group. That's all I need. What I'm going to do now is add an inner glow to these shapes, so they're going to look even cooler. When you go to click on the first one here, click on the pink one. I'm using my black arrow, the selection tool. You're going to go to Effect, Stylize, Inner Glow. So Effect and Stylize. Notice that there are 2 pieces on here that say Stylize. Stylize down here does not have Inner Glow because it's a Photoshop effect. Stylize up here has Inner Glow because it's an Illustrator effect. So Stylize, Inner Glow right there. And with what I've got selected, I'm going to change these settings. I'm going to say that I'd like it to be multiply, 75%, and 6-point blur. That is already set up because I did that before. And you're going to choose a color that is basically a darker version of whatever this color is. So I've already chosen that too. I apologize, I did this a minute ago and I'm just retracing my steps here. If you hit preview, you should be able to see what it's going to look like. And it looks pretty cool. So if you click OK, that looks neat. You can do the same thing with the blue. You're going to click this, go to, it's all grouped, remember, go to Object, I'm sorry, it's not Object, go to Effect, Stylize, Inner Glow, same, multiply, 75%, 6 points. I'm going to choose a nice dark blue color. And I'm going to preview it to make sure it's doing what I'm asking it to do. Click OK. And that looks pretty sweet. The last piece you want to do here is you want to get rid of your grid. So it's going to be under View, I'm sorry. And there's a piece down here that says Hide Grid. Looks pretty great. I think that's about all we need here. Go ahead and show me that when you finish. And if you like it a lot, you can save it for sure. You have to save it, but you can export it in some sort of way where you can use it somewhere else. You can export as, and you can make it into a JPEG or a PNG or something so you can stick it up on your social media instead of photographing it with your phone. You can actually turn it into a proper file type. So that's it. That's your interlocking hearts. Show that to me for a project grade. Thanks.